Okay, so this was our three-way scene. We started off all sitting down in chairs and we had separate spotlights. I thought this worked pretty well to show how they were all individual. They weren't linked, the characters weren't going to link. The only link that they had was when we say the words I'm sorry. One character from each says I'm sorry in unison, and also you look radiant in unison. We had to change things about a bit. Because they had to match so that they were saying the words at the same time. We originally worked with this group, so that's us there, me and Bella, and we originally worked with this group over here, which was Hannah and Joel, and then we fitted this group in. So this was like what happened when we fit this group in, and then how it all worked, basically.
Go.
I expect dinner to be laid out for me when I get home. Would you like your hair in a bun, Delilah?
So basically you can see how we're setting the scenes, we're setting how, you know, the atmosphere. So over here we're quite happy, and our abusive character hasn't come in yet, which is Hannah, which is supposed to be the abusive dad. She hasn't come into the scene yet, so it's all quite happy. We're all sitting down, makes us equal. This scene, Joel and Hannah's, is pretty much the same as ours. It was very similar, apart from we had a child, which was me, but their scene was very similar. And so originally when we were just working with them, we found it quite easy to sort of change it around so that it matched. The only problem was that it might look a bit sort of too similar to sort of show any contrast, which is why I thought this was better having this scene in it, because theirs was something totally different. You can also tell that even though we're all sitting down, we're feeling different things with different ages, with different time zones. So this was a similar time zone to us. You can tell by the way Joel was speaking as well. We chose like a Victorian sort of period, the name Delilah, hopefully showing that, and a typical mother-daughter relationship. And this sort of a similar time, I think maybe a bit later on, and I think this was supposed to be sort of like World War II sort of era, but obviously I was a child, I was happy, she was more, Hannah was sort of more like worried, afraid, and Izzy was definitely just sort of worried about her character. So when she gets up now, she's showing that worry. And how we've all said a line, I think it was good, and it showed how it wasn't like fragmented and it wasn't like lots of stop, starting and pause. I think it worked quite well, so we'll carry on.
Please, clean the kitchen. Pudding waiting for me in the oven. Are you okay? You alright? You look terrible.
So here, I think this worked pretty well with ours, especially because she was only just doing my hair. It would be something that would happen naturally and didn't look like a freeze or unnatural, because that's important, especially in like Stanislavski's style, and in our players we'll be looking at this a lot, and sort of this structure a lot. But perhaps Joel and Hannah's scene looks like it is a little bit unnatural, like he's just stopped speaking and he's just sort of standing there, but you can't really see from his facial expressions. But I think maybe that would have helped it a bit more if he made it a bit more obvious or paced around a little bit, because he could still move but just not carry on with the action. So anyway,
Where's my dinner? Not another man in my own home. I'm sorry.
so that was the first I'm sorry all in unison, but I like this very much because I think it worked well. They did all say it together, and the I'm sorry's meant different things in each scene but still worked to say it all together. So hers was I'm sorry, she felt almost like guilt. I think Bella's character who said I'm sorry, I think she felt fear, and I think that I don't know whether it was Izzy or Catherine's character who said I'm sorry, I think it was probably for like because they care, so it was sort of more meaningful, whereas these two were a lot more sort of the abuse of it all and the fear. So I'm sorry, don't know if they actually mean it or not.
I was with some friends. You were out after curfew. Do you know what could have happened? Sorry isn't good enough.
So this is what we saw as sort of the climax of our so everyone's got raised voices, there's tension. We used like not only just in what they said, so all saying sorry at the same time. The characters got closer in proxemics, and the pushing against the throat, something that we both had used unintentionally, and we decided that we're going to do that at the same time. After evaluation and some people's feedback, they said that didn't really work. It looked too sort of staged. It didn't really give the effect that we wanted, so maybe we shouldn't have done that. But I think it was also because their piece was very similar to ours, so that's why it worked. But that's why it didn't work. And these in the middle definitely provided a contrast between both of ours.
What's that?
Hannah was supposed to say that at the same time as Joel, and they were all supposed to say that at the same time. That obviously didn't work in rehearsal, so that's something that we needed to practice more. We needed to look at more and the importance of that. Originally, "You look radiant" was the line that was supposed to be meaningful and a nice thing, but we used it now, especially that was sort of from inspiration from this group, to sort of show how they didn't think they looked radiant. It was just sort of like a way of sort of tormenting, another way to like diminish the women. So I think that was something that we came across pretty well, but I don't know whether it did look a bit frozen. I think my character maybe was just afraid, but when they were holding their throat for a long time, it did look a bit frozen whilst the action was going on here. But I think that the one thing that was good was that whenever the person, or wherever we wanted the audience to look, they did look. So the action, if we wanted them to look at this action, they would be focused on this, and they would have a focus point whenever someone was talking. It wasn't like they didn't know where to look. So
Von Wretch.
So here in this moment, these two over here, whilst the action is happening for us, it did look frozen. It didn't work that well, and I think it could have worked a lot better if we'd had focused on maybe like weaving our scene more into the other scenes instead of just having the main action and Hannah coming in at the end, because it just made it seem like these were frozen. But this is something definitely that was important and will come up in our structure of our play. So I think that to improve this, we could have sort of communicated more with these groups, and communicated with this group especially, to get the action in between and not look like there were any pauses. Yeah.